Yes, AI is going to come for your job unless you come for AI first. Welcome to King Moves. In chess, the king moves one step at a time, but that single move can change everything. Each week, we explore mindset shifts and simple actions that could lead to the next breakthrough in your business and life. I'm your co-host, Ethan King, from Atlanta, Georgia, USA. Entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of Wealth Beyond Money.
And I'm your co-host, Justin King, no relation to Ethan, from Cape Town, South Africa. Entrepreneur, speaker, and business growth strategist. Our journey crosses continents and cultures as we think out loud, challenge assumptions, and uncover the small moves that create big momentum. Welcome to King Moves. Let's start the conversation. So I'm gonna jump in because you just told me you've gone for the baller version. That's what I'm gonna call it, the baller version of ChatGPT. So fill me in on what that means, because we said let's hit record rather than just speaking about that randomly.
Yeah, I decided to spring for the pro version of ChatGPT, which right now is $200 a month. And I put it off for a while, but I said, you know what? I'm out here speaking about AI. I need to know the full capability of it and really test it out, because I always speak on practical use cases of AI. And this $200 version, at first, I was like, well, I'm not trying to do like super mathematical complex things with AI, so I don't need it. But then when Operator came out, which is the ChatGPT tool that allows ChatGPT or OpenAI to do things for you in a browser all on its own, like control a web browser, click around, buy things, I said, okay, I have to test this out and see how well it works. So surprisingly, here's my feedback on it. It's cool. It's mind-blowing. It is the future. It's just super slow and kind of clunky right now, but it is doable. I had it book a flight for me, and all I did was put in the prompt. I need to fly from Atlanta to Las Vegas on March 7th in the morning and then return on March 11th in the evening, like something like that, simple. And I said I only fly Delta, so book it on delta.com. So it went to delta.com. Started clicking around. It prompts me when it needs me to log in or something like that. And then after the first time, it will remember the password. And then it prompts you again when it's time to check out and do the payment part of it. So that's pretty cool. Like if you just leave it running in a browser in the background, and it'll alert you when it needs human interaction. Like if it gets stuck on something. I noticed a few times there would be like a pop-up window that got in the way of it clicking, and that would sometimes kind of throw it off. But otherwise, it is a really, really cool application. And I can see using it in a practical use case for something like social media or having it write blogs, because you can have Operator use ChatGPT. So you have AI using AI, and you could just have it running on a separate computer and doing all these different processes for you while you're doing something else.
Trying to wrap my head around. So obviously the prompt that you put in. So let's just use your example of booking the flight. But do you have to be pretty detailed on the prompt as far as times of the day, cost? So find the cheapest, most expensive, the most direct, whatever it is. Or does it come back to you with questions at that point to clarify, these are the options, would you like to go for X, Y, and Z?
Well, much like ChatGPT, it tries not to come back to you with questions, which can be good or bad. But I think that's kind of a default feature that OpenAI puts into things. It doesn't want to ask you a bunch of questions, so it's going to try to carry it out to the best of its ability, given the context it has. So if you don't say, I want the cheapest flight or I want the shortest flight, it's going to use its own best judgment. It did pretty good. I mean, it didn't like put me in first class and have multiple stops and things like that. So it's smart enough to know. It did nonstop. I think it just did main cabin. So it didn't stop and ask me, do you want to upgrade or anything like that? It just took it upon itself to book. It picked a ticket that I would have picked at that one. I was just testing it, but yeah, I had already booked the flight. But I can see it being very practically used. I'll be using it for some things for sure. So I've just been testing it out for the past week or two.
So I know you're still testing. It's still new, but being the AI expert that you are and doing the consulting that you do, what are your immediate thoughts around the use cases of this in businesses? And let's start with small, medium-sized businesses and then maybe larger businesses.
I think the first use case that I'll try it out with is really the same first use case I did with ChatGPT is in helping with the marketing processes. So if you have, because I already have GPT set up to write in my voice, and like, for example, this podcast will take the transcript, put it into a GPT, and then it'll spit out the show notes, and they're configured to sound a certain way so that it's uniform. So that would be one use case. And really anything you have where you're doing rudimentary step-by-step processes in a web browser over and over again, where it's just data entry, anything like that, where it's just the same type of thing that you would hire a low, like entry-level, low-wage employee for, you could probably give to Operator right now.
It's interesting. So I think a lot of people are scratching their heads or concerned around, well, some people might be listening thinking, is this another thing that's going to take my job? But where can employees, so there's one way that business owners can leverage it. Where can employees also leverage it? Is it just to, and you and I have spoken about it before, it's not to replace what you're doing, but rather to supercharge what you're doing. So right. It would be to craft that first version of the marketing narrative, and then using your context, your experience, your expertise, your knowledge of the business to really then take it to the next level and bring the personalization that's needed. Because we've used that term before. I've used that term before. Such a big benefit of it is just to do the heavy lifting for you. It's to get the first paragraph down, start the process of whatever you're wanting to do to work from there.
Right. Yeah, I tell people in my workshops, I open up with this cartoon that shows two people. One of them is looking very optimistic and sunny, and the other one has doom and gloom. So I say there are two types of people in this world. Those who think, oh no, AI is going to take my job. And then those who are like, yes, AI is going to take my job. And if you're someone who is growth oriented and you're looking at constantly leveling up and progressing in life, then you need to use these tools. Because yes, AI is going to come for your job unless you come for AI first and use that to, if you can do the work of 10 people and then show your boss like, hey, I'm getting all of this done, I'm hungry for the next thing, then you'll get moved up the ladder. You're not going to be replaced out the door. Why would a company replace someone who's smart enough to leverage the tools that are available today to produce 10 times the output? And that doesn't make sense. Oh, now I'm going to get rid of you. No, it's like, let me elevate you to the next level up, whatever that is, because now you figured out how to save the company money and be more efficient and get more done. But those people who are trying to fight the advancement in technology and keep things the way that they were, those are going to be the ones who go.
Yeah. And just so that we don't harp on the same points that we've discussed before, I think one thing that's really relevant, and I've seen somebody else speaking about it, is that just using ChatGPT as an example to prompt and help create content. That's kind of, you're almost behind the curve. And this is what I've heard somebody speaking about, is you're behind the curve if that's where you're focusing, because AI has moved beyond that now. Yeah. And it has. So we can't argue that fact. But what I will say is a large percentage of people haven't lent into starting to understand AI and even just the basics of ChatGPT yet. So don't let that stop you. Don't let the fact that you haven't started yet and it's gone so far beyond just some of these prompts that you can be using ChatGPT to help you generate content and marketing material, PR work, LinkedIn posts, whatever it is. Don't feel that I'm too far behind, I can't start, and don't start anywhere. Rather lean into that and play a little bit of catch up, because jumping right to the more advanced levels that some of the AI aspects have got to now, I think that's going to be a barrier for some people to even get started.
Yeah, very much so. And that's a great point. A lot of times we can think, oh, I missed that boat. Well, that ship has sailed. And then you're like, oh, you shrug your shoulders and you move on the way you were doing things. No, definitely catch up. Yes, you are behind if you haven't at least been using AI. Heck, even before ChatGPT, there were tools available to where AI could assist you in copywriting, things like Jasper AI, things like that. Yeah. So yes, you are behind, but surprisingly, Justin, a lot of people are really behind. We think that it's common because of the circles that we run in, but the average person really doesn't leverage ChatGPT the way that they could. I mean, even I'm always talking about having your custom instructions filled out. So because that's each of those boxes, when you go to your settings and your custom instructions, right now they each hold 1,500 characters. So you fill out both boxes, and that's an additional 3,000 characters of context that gets injected into each prompt in the background. So it's going to give you much better results that are more tailored to sound like you and to fit you better as a person than just using it right out of the box.
I love that. So let's leave it there. And perhaps the king move for this one is just get started. Right now, just get started. Get started with a free version of ChatGPT if that's where you want to be. Check out Ethan's book as well, because that's going to be a game changer. GPT to double your business in 90 days. Did I get it? Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. And there's an updated version that you sent out 2 weeks ago.
Yep. We're always updating it. So it gets popped right in your inbox whenever I release an update to the book. So there have been several updates since the book was released. It was first released in August of 2024. Since AI is developing so rapidly, we're always pushing out updates. And by buying the book from my website, ethanking.com, you'll automatically get the updates pushed out as soon as they happen.
Amazing. And Ethan, thank you for always pushing forward, trying the newest versions, the newest updates, and feeding back to us what's going on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a wrap for today's episode of King Moves. Remember, in chess, like in business,
one right move can change everything.
take today's action step, make your move, and build momentum.
If you found value in today's episode, share it with someone who's ready for their next breakthrough. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our weekly conversations. Until next time.